And
Morning,
one more
folks.
for you. One more. And we're going to give everybody a second to get their coffee and come back. And if you're just joining or you want to tell a friend to come on and join, we're starting a little early. But check this out, because not a lot of activities happen. Not a lot of entries have happened. If you got a wife, a daughter, if you got an email and you want to get in, all it takes is a click and you can win. Check it out. All right, folks, thank you so much for coming. It's me and David again in the morning. If you notice, we got the starter jackets on because it's Saturday, and we like to start the morning off the right way. So, David, we got the Sentinel here. We have 49ers throwback here. Good morning. We have a great show for everybody. And yes, if you notice the thumbnail, it has the Batwing in it. Why? Because we are flying anything and everything over Levi's. We want to call out the Army, the National Guard, whoever we have to call out to get this right. Folks, we are going all in. And that means if we need to get Batman and Robin out there, we are doing what we have to do. So today's topic, we're going to get into it, and we really, really do appreciate everyone for coming. It might not be the longest show, but it's going to be a great show. 8-ish, 8:30 is going to be our new start time on Saturdays if it works out for everyone. So we got Bebop here.
Don't forget to go check out last night's show. You know, we had one on Bryant's and one on mine. Mine, we were discussing the time before cell phones and technology, the time of phone books, pay phones, Rolodexes, and the old dial phone, rotary phone. That's right, folks. If you don't know, you should check it out.
If you don't know, now you know. And if you watch the show, you'll know. So we got It's the Kid here, Eric Wallace, and Bebop Jones. And yes, definitely check out some of our older videos. Sometimes when you just click David McNiner, go back to the live, look at what happened the day before. We're not on every night, but we are on quite a bit. And David and me, you can kind of say Batman and Robin, and I'll let you guys ponder and put in your own ideas. Of course, I'm going to say I'm Batman. He's going to say he's Batman, but we're not going to have a show like that today. But we are going to get into it. David, what were you talking about this morning? You were watching another morning show or another outdoor show that you were talking about. If you guys don't know,
a car revival. It's a car revival, an old drag race car. This one was a Ford Fairlane. I'm not brand biased, folks. I'm not. I know what's junk and what's not though. But and an old Ford Fairlane that used to drag race in the Pennsylvania area, you know, was bought by a guy with a YouTube channel, and it's called Vice Grip Garage. And I watch it. I've watched this for a long time. This is not a sponsored YouTube. And he's just an awesome guy. You know, he'll go to someone's barn that's falling down and he just bought the car sitting in there. It's been sitting 30 years. He'll go through the process of getting it running and he'll attempt to drive it home. I've seen him drive a Model A, which only goes like, I think the top speed on that was 30 miles an hour, 1,000 miles. So, you know.
So if you guys have anything like that in your guys' neck of the woods, some interest that you have, throw it in the chat, because the only way that we can grow, is one thing I think you have to do every day is you have to try to learn something. And you don't really have to try too hard to learn something. So if something like a show like that sparks your interest, or you can share it with someone else, hey, there's this guy called Rich Rebuilds, and he does a lot of cool things like that too. He takes Teslas apart, and he does a lot of other stuff. And I like watching guys like that. I like watching guys. There's a show called Cool Fuel, and this guy takes hemp fuel, and he takes other natural resources, and he makes oil, veggie oil, and he goes all over across America. He was riding a little moped back and forth, and he's trying to go as far as he can go. So like that kind of stuff to me really sparks my like interest, because fossil fuels are great. And we were talking about this a little bit last night about, if there was something that happened with, like nuclear war and technology kind of ceased to exist, there's still ways to get around with our old technology. So it is definitely interesting. And if you guys haven't seen the show, I definitely want you guys to go and check out the show. They're not really a show. They're a, you can say, a neighborhood garage, but shout out to Bianchi Buckets, and they are putting it down. They are putting superchargers on Volkswagen Bugs. They are doing what they got to do to get it right. They work on Maseratis. If you know Maseratis, and it's a little Mazda that thinks it can drive like a Maserati. And it's so great group of guys. If you need anything done, check out Bianchi Buckets. And we're hoping here soon we'll get a sponsorship. So, David, let's get into this. Last night we had a cool show. We started out with a great guest. We had Wolf come on. We had Miss Tony come on. And then we went to your show and we carried on the discussion about, like you were saying, what happened before we had cell phones.
Well, if you wanted to get a hold of a friend, you'd hop on the landline and you'd call their house.
That's right.
Now, when I was young, this is before they even had push button phones. We had to use a thing called a rotary phone. If you don't know, I request that you Google it. And you would have to put your finger in the hole and dial that number. And if you're calling someone like your grandma who is, 1,500 miles away from me, you're calling long distance, and you make it all the way through that number and you screw up at the end, you have to start all over again. And it's a long, drawn out process, folks. So, but yeah, pay phones. Like Steve-O said they took out all the pay phones where he lives. I actually haven't seen a pay phone. I don't know how many years. I'm going to start paying attention when I go out and about today. But I haven't seen a pay phone in many years, And we used to have this thing called a phone book, folks. You know what a phone book is? It's a book. It's like that thick. It's a big old book. And there were a couple different companies that made it. So you kind of have to know how their system of looking stuff up worked. But hanging at the payphone is a phone book. If you have to call a taxi service, there was no hop on the app and order an Uber or Lyft. None of that was going on, folks. None of that. You had to pick up the phone book, go to the taxi section, and call companies on the payphone to get a hold of them, right? Mm-hmm. Nowadays, we all have these things, and there's no need for a payphone because everyone has a cell phone, right? You want to get a hold of a friend, you call them, call their cell phone. Hey, what's up? You don't leave a message at their house and then they call you back and you're out and about doing something. That becomes phone tag, which is something that, none of the youngins know about because it just doesn't happen these days.
So with all that good stuff happening, and technology happening and phone tag and people being more and more aware of, I don't know, maybe just ugly illnesses happening. Maybe at one point they just started sporadically maybe being more aware because of maybe because of lawsuits, right? So you have things like tumors and cancer that really become prevalent, and maybe more people were aware of it or scared of it. And then you had more people starting to notice concussions. And maybe it was because of the price of living went up, or maybe it was because a couple of key sports players really struck it big. And then maybe there was a couple that didn't, and they weren't the ones that maybe should have got paid, and they did get paid, but they didn't have the stats. And you look back and you're like, wow, that guy didn't make it, or he was really a good player, but he didn't get paid. And then you start looking at some of these other people and you start hearing about them, and you're like, hey, what happened to that guy? What happened to that guy? Oh, well, he's not doing very good. And you're like, why isn't he? And then they start saying, well, it was because of this or this. So then you start seeing slow changes, right? Slow changes with the equipment. And we won't just focus in on football, but it is mainly football. So there's two reasons, guys, the thumbnails over flying over Levi's, because we want to bring awareness to everyone. You don't have to be a football player to be a hero. You don't have to be a movie star to be a hero. You don't have to be a comic book, make believe guy to be a hero. You can just be a person who's caring and a person who thinks. You don't have to be a Karen, but you need to be aware of different things. And if there are advances that can be made to help someone's life, that's eventually where we're all at. We want to better society, right? That's a lot, unless you're Dr. Evil, right? And you just want to see the world burn or something, right? But so with what we're talking about today, CTE is the focus, and kickoffs are going to really change. And we've talked about this a little bit. They did some changes last year, and they're going to keep changing it until it's almost eliminated. So the new talks, and shout out to Pat McAfee. If you guys want, go check out his video. He did a great talk on it, and he breaks it down way more beautiful than I can. But it seems like they're going to be voting on the kickoff rule again, and they're going to try to eliminate these guys from running full speed at each other. The reason punts are different than kickoff returns is these guys aren't taking off at full speed, where other guys are standing there like a fence and waiting for these other guys to either hit them or, like make a move. And, not everybody is that, I don't know, agile, where so a lot of these guys are getting hit. And I think we can go back to the Super Bowl, and I believe it was a kickoff. It might have been a punt return, but I believe it was a kickoff where Conley ran down and smacked Richie James pretty hard, if I'm correct. So, David, what's your thoughts on CTE, and is kickoff really the reason for all this? And if that is, with the technology that's been changing, because we've seen the guys go from leather helmets to more of a face bar. Now they've gotten smaller helmets, more padding, more air holes. So they're, maybe they're getting less hot out there. The helmets, you can still see the helmets in cold temperatures. We've seen it in the games this year, cracking on the sidelines because of people smacking themselves. So if it's happening like that during a game, a weather game, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the kickoffs. It could just be. But again, let me get your thoughts on this.
So kickoffs and kickoff returns, the guys are all hitting at full speed. I honestly, over the course of watching football and I've watched since the mid 80s, folks, I haven't seen that many concussions from a kickoff returner or a punt returner. The more concussions are like running backs and wide receivers. Right? Sometimes you see offensive linemen getting a concussion. That's not a high-speed impact either. That's just two big fellas slamming into each other, right? And I just don't, the NFL is trying to dial back concussions because CTE is a problem, And the main thing, like, the player that actually brought it to the light of the NFL. He's a former 49er, had to retire because of concussions. Goes by the name of Steve Young. And right now he's still functioning, still able to talk, still hops on the media, and is kind of an analyst, kind of not. He's actually a pretty nice guy. not a bad fellow to watch when it comes down to it, but he still has everything together. So he got out in time. What causes CTE is multiple in a row. And back in the day, players felt like if they're not on the field, they're going to get cut. No matter what, they have to be on the field. If they're feeling just a little woozy, they're not going to tell their coach about it because they have to get back out there. That way, that they're tough, right? And they're on the field. But then that slight concussion that player's suffering from, right? He goes out there, he gets hit again. It compiles. And I've actually had multiple concussions in a week, and it affected me for a couple of years. It did. I actually had the not the epileptic seizures that people see, but I had seizures. And I had to be on medication for it, and medication to try to get my brain swelling down. I was a teenager at that point. I'm glad I caught it when I did, because I still have everything I need to have right now, in my late 40s.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, CTE, it's real. It's a big issue. And, nowadays, if they feel something, if something's going on, they're encouraged to say something. And, the team doctor, the team has a doctor that supposedly is not affiliated with the team or the NFL there. And they do an evaluation to see if a player, could possibly have a concussion. Because they do still have that mentality of, I have to be out there even if something's wrong with me. Right?
That's right. You look at football and really sport games, and you have to look at it like a warrior, the gladiator mindset, right? Because that's where these games kind of originated from. They were gladiators, they were warriors. And then the games kind of evolved. Instead of them playing against lions, they started playing against people who wanted to call themselves the Lions. At one point they were playing against real Bengals. Now they're playing against, again, people who want to say they're Bengals. They rode Broncos. They rode Chargers. Now they're playing against those guys. So it's, it's about having fun. It's about, naming your team something that you can, be proud of. But it's also about, these guys being able to walk away at the end of their days. And sure, we know there's jobs out there. People have, positions like welding. There's jobs out there that they say, okay, after a certain period of time, these guys have had sicknesses, they've had illnesses, so we need to take proper precautions and safety measures and put them in place. So that's basically what we're trying to do here as well. We're not going to get anywhere by just sitting here talking about it, but by talking about it, we do make noise, and we do get other people to start talking about the awareness needs to happen. David, there was a book, and it was called The Jungle, and it was written about all the things that was happening in the food industry, everything that was being put into, on the conveyor belt and mashed up and put into, our food. And it was called The Jungle. There was no regulations. There was nothing. And until this book came out, and it came out, you guys check it out. Until it came out, we didn't do anything. So sometimes whistles have to be blown, and sometimes things have to be changed. Now, there was Steve Young, and it was a sad, sad day, and it's a sad moment. I can still tell you the play. I can tell you the day. I can tell you where I was at when I seen him get hit. I'm very upset. I'm upset with that player who injured him. I'm, really, really just, that player went on to continue to play for the, I'm not going to highlight his name or say where he went to play. You guys can look it up. But Steve Young, made his decision to retire, and it really just, it hurt me. It hurt the 49ers. He was my favorite player. We had a hard transition period, hard transition period. We went from 2 Super Bowl quarterbacks to, yes, Jeff Garcia, was able to take on the reins for a short period of time, and we held it down for a while, but we weren't able to get back to the top. It took us a very long time. And then we got a new quarterback, and there was decisions made. David, did you know that we as 49er fans, we as the organization, forced Alex Smith to go out there and continue to play with a separated shoulder? That would have happened today. There would have been no way that would have happened. But Mike Nolan made Alex Smith go out there and throw with a separated shoulder. Maybe that's why maybe when you look back at Alex Smith's career and you say, why did he have so many, dirt balls? Maybe it was because his shoulder wasn't intact. Maybe he was trying to do what he could do. And so I now, after seeing that and hearing about that, I have, newfound respect for Alex. I never hated Alex, but I always thought, man, this guy he's not what we need. We ruined him. We ruined Alex, and it took such a long time. So again, to get back to the thoughts of like new technologies come out, right? And whatever we have to do, fly planes, fly the Batwing. Maybe the next thumbnail will have the Bat helicopter going over Levi's. We're not trying to sell the stadium.
Hey, Sentinel is saying that's his best. That's his favorite Batwing ever.
It is. It is. It's a beautiful Batwing. 1989, guys, go check it out. That's when Batman became Batman. It's become dark again, right? So,
but we're going to do. You brought up Alex Smith. So the guy who actually separated his shoulder, former 49er Julian Peterson, that's actually who did it. And it was sad to see, like right off the bat, we got a young quarterback, and when it comes to NFL football, he's raw because he come from that Urban Meyer, offensive system that wasn't pro-like, so he had a long ways to go to get to the point where he's an NFL quarterback. And here we are, he's injured, bam, just like that. And then our organization was a mess in this time frame. We went through 7 different offensive systems in his first 7 years. How is a quarterback ever supposed to develop when he's changing what he's doing every year? Right.
Yeah.
But it just come down to, it was a bad time for the 49ers. The organization was a mess. The Yorks didn't quite know, that they were trying to run the 49ers like a business because they don't know about football. And, the thing to know about football is you win Super Bowls, you're making more money, Yorks. Here's a clue. You're making more money if you win a Super Bowl.
I don't know, David, if it's not that they didn't know about football, but I can definitely say you're on to something. Maybe they weren't invested. Maybe they thought everything's already in place. We're taking over Eddie's team. Steve Young was here. We got Steve Mariucci in the building still. This is going to be okay. Okay, now, Mariucci needs to go. We're going to get Dennis Eckerson, or Eric Eckerson, I believe that's his name. We're going to get him in. We still got T.O. and Garcia. We got a shot. The Niners made it to the playoffs. We're doing good, right? But the owners were in Ohio, and they were running it from a distance. But, again, like a good business owner, you put your managers in place, and they're supposed to, take care of things. Well, because maybe they didn't make these people feel like their jobs are on the line, or maybe we were – because at a point when we lost the team, when Eddie lost the team, nobody really wanted to play for the 49ers. Everybody was out. We were still 5-time Super Bowl champions, but for that moment, that's the dark days, right? And it wasn't until, who's got better than us, basically, before we started having pride in our team again. Yeah, you could say Singletary brought the swag, but we are still in between quarterbacks. We didn't have an identity. When people are chanting for Carr, we want Carr over Alex Smith, and Alex Smith, our starting quarterback, doesn't want to even be in San Francisco. He prefers the away games. That's the whole, we don't back you. We don't believe in this team or this product you're putting out there. I don't know, David. I'm not happy with that, but not with what you're saying, but just like the whole thoughts. And it is history, and we can't change it. But now we do have this moment, and because of Steve Young's injury, the concussion that happened, and then Chris Borland, right? Chris Borlander? No. Yeah, it's Chris Borlander, right? Our linebacker who retired.
Yes, Chris Borland, 1 season. He retired because, and at that time, we actually had like an offensive lineman with the last name of Smith. He was an offensive tackle. And Davis. Was it Antonio Davis? but he was only with us for a couple seasons, but he had multiple concussions in a row, and he like took a year off and then came back, and it was a weird situation.
That was Anthony Davis, I think.
Anthony Davis. There we go.
I believe. Yeah, he did. He took a year off and then he came back, and then I think he wanted out of our team. And that was during the Kaepernick years, I believe, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's okay. Getting into it, and we're not trying to go all over the board, but you look at Steve Young. Everybody was so proud when he won the Super Bowl, but he still wasn't Joe, right? But he won the Super Bowl, so we're beloved. We love Steve Young, forever young, right? Then Alex Smith, we were supposed to get behind him. We're supposed to believe in this guy, but he gets hurt, and then he gets hurt again, and then like you said, so many coordinators in so many years, so nobody's really believing in him. He doesn't really have a solid wide receiver. All of this happens, right? We have multiple changes at quarterback because, again, best availability is being available, right? Being the best player is being available. So you got Alex out there and he can't get it done. So here comes Harbaugh, and we have success. And you're like, all right. And then we have the fumble on special teams, right? Everybody put your head down. It's just that something with number 10. Maybe they should just take it off the board and say, no number 10, no more. 49er players, we're not letting you wear number 10. It's just been too many things there's about 10-point leads. It's about, a fumble with 10. It's about, bad quarterback with number 10. We'll just keep going on. We have 10 different reasons to say no to 10, right? So yes. Alex was that quarterback we wanted to see win the Super Bowl, right? Because we were invested so long. Kaepernick was that quarterback. Kaepernick. Shameless plug, everybody. Go get into that jersey competition. Okay, so Kaepernick was that player that we wanted to see win the Super Bowl because he deserved it. He was that athletic. He should have gotten it done, right? So Alex was the one we were backing and we wanted to see with our heart, right? Because we were invested. Kaepernick was that one was like, yeah, this team's finally got like a wolf, man. We finally got an alpha. And then he starts pulling what he started pulling, comes in as a vegan. We threatened to trade our coach because our ownership gets involved. Our young ownership gets involved with a team on its way. Just like sometimes when it's not broken or even whatever, just don't touch it. It's fine. Just leave it alone. But there was some attitudes said, there were some words that was felt and heard, and there was decisions made. And then we had a transition. And what do? We go back to Jimmy T. And that's not really what we needed to do. And for a little while, Chip Kelly, and he can rearrange the order how you need to. David, now we're at the pinnacle and we have a coach and we have a team that believes in each other. And there's just been so many little intricate moments and crucial decisions. Everybody's screaming for an offensive tackle, an offensive line. But this team believes in themselves. If we was to draft an offensive lineman or even replace 3 of them on the line, go and get 3 replacements, what's the likelihood of these guys really starting this season?
If they're rookies, not very good. If they're like veteran offensive linemen we get in free agency, pretty good. Well, if it's a first round rookie, like say somehow, for example, the best center in the draft drops to us and we take him. Brindle's not necessarily on an expensive contract. And having him around to back up, that's just ideal, And I'm not saying he's terrible. I'm not saying he's good either. He's mid, But getting a guy, a young center for our young quarterback and having them grow and have careers together, similar to what Peyton Manning had with his center, who his center's name is escaping me right now.
Was it Jeff Saturday?
I think so. I think you're right. But they were together for a long time, and they had a continuity going on. And, just getting a guy that can actually go one-on-one with an interior defensive lineman and win the battle. That's what I want to see. Jake Brindle, he's typically doubling someone, or if someone's blitzing, he'll pick up a linebacker. He can do that, But going one-on-one with one of these defensive linemen, he typically loses. He's losing the battle. Then you see Brock Purdy squirt out and do something great. Shout out to our QB, right?
Yep. It's nice to see a quarterback get outside and play a little bit more, and show that element. Jimmy, we lost that with Jimmy. And we never had it with Blaine Gabbert. We never had it with a couple of the quarterbacks. Brian Hoyer, the Destroyer, CJ Beathard, God love him, but he just wasn't. He wasn't what we need. He was what we needed at the time, but he wasn't enough to get us over the hump. I mean, the guy threw an 80-yard pass to Goodwin, but sometimes you need a little bit more. So.
Hey, you remember Scangarello, the QB coach, right? The guy that was around when James Richard Garoppolo was our QB. He liked that in the pocket statue type of quarterback. And it's like he's getting hit so much he can't stay on the field. Like your style of quarterback is not exactly working out in today's NFL, buddy. And honestly, James got hurt with the Raiders last year. He's just injury prone, Doesn't have the strongest arm. Maybe he can throw downfield, but he doesn't have confidence in his accuracy downfield, right? That's something we can say. At this point, we moved on. We have Brock Purdy. And now we're going to be in year 2 after his elbow surgery. And honestly, he'll be at full strength. He was probably somewhere around 85, maybe, 90% strength at the end of this year. But now he's going to be back to 100%. This whole offseason, he's going to be able to work on everything he needs to work on because he's not injured. So, what you expect out of a young quarterback is to just get better every year. And, if he does better next year than he did this year, all these people that say he ain't elite, I'm going to want to see him eat that. I got some catch up for him.
Yeah. It's shoulda, coulda, wish he would have got it done this year, but he's been really good in the last couple of years. And it's again, there's 32 teams. It's hard to get there every year. Our team has been to the NFC Championship game more than any other team. Our team, other than Dallas, I believe, has been to more Super Bowls than any other team in the NFC. So, I mean, there's things that, you definitely got to still be able to say, hey, proud moment, puff your chest out. Now, I'll tell you, we go 5-3 right now. We go 5-4, 5-5. I said it. And then we win a Super Bowl. Yeah, I'll be mad for the losses, but I'll take them. I'm always going to root for the Niners. It's just something you got to do, right? And if you follow basketball, the 2 best teams in basketball, arguably is the Lakers and the Celtics. They've been to the championship more than any other team, right? And as much as I don't like to say it, I don't like the Dodgers, but the Dodgers and the Yankees have been to the World Series more than any other team, right? So if you root for teams because of that only, okay, well, that's your prerogative. But if you root because, you kind of were born into the family, maybe it's not your choice that you're a fan, or maybe it is your choice. More power to you. I root for one because I like saying they're the San Francisco 49ers. I like, feeling good about them. I like that feeling I had when I was growing up. Maybe shout out to Full House. You got a jacket on, like that guy, Danny Tanner. And I'm telling you, I like that moment. You see on the TV show, they're going across the Golden Gate Bridge and in that little red Mustang, right? And the top's down and everybody's like everywhere, right? You guys know, the song, right? So for me, that's nostalgic for me. That's like the Niners are out there. That was like everything's good, hey, I'm waking up tomorrow morning, Saturday morning cartoons, same kind of vibes, right? It's like everything's good. And sometimes when you don't have to worry about, all the other problems in the world, and you just are worried, you're not even worried, you're just excited about the game. You're excited about, life. That's where you sometimes maybe are happiest. So you look at people, and not to make light of anybody, but sometimes maybe I think everything's about math. I think everything can be figured out with math and chemicals, equations, formulas. Maybe something wasn't developed correctly. Maybe something needed a little bit more time. And maybe with modern science, eventually we can correct things, maybe put them back into the incubator. And maybe, so if you see somebody and maybe they're not fully functioning the way you fully function, or I don't want to say that they're not happy or they're not fully capable. You don't necessarily know. And everyone has a right to be alive and to continue to have an opportunity to breathe and to enjoy this opportunity that we have. And the thing I heard the other day is not everybody out there really truly uses their brain to their full potential. So just because half the people or a percentage of the people aren't fully, do we get rid of them? No, you have to allow people to continue to go, right? So with CTE and then bringing this to enlightenment, and you see people because they played sports or they did something and now they're a vegetable, or now they did at one point live their life. They did at one point, but what we need to do is try to figure out how we can make it safer. And no, we can't run around the entire world with bubble wrap on us. No, but there are things that we can figure out. Damn it, if we could put a man on the moon, David, why can't we fight cancer? Why can't we cure cancer?
And this is true. For all we know, there could already be a cure for cancer out there. It's just, certain companies stand to lose billions of dollars if it comes out. That's just the sad truth. And honestly, you have to go to the doctor a lot, folks. There's checkups you have to go get yourself checked out. Always stay vigilant with it, because the sooner you catch it, the sooner you can get rid of it. And the easier it is to deal with, right?
That's right. So, like we were talking about, I believe on your show last night, maybe on my show, guys, go check out the shows. And if you're not entered in the contest, please, like, subscribe, and send an email. It's a lot of fun. Maybe stuff that we eat focuses, or has contributions or contributes to things that happen later on in life. Because CTE is one of those things. Lou Gehrig's disease. There's a lot of things that you can get cancer and never smoke. So there's things that's out there that we have no idea. And maybe it's genetic. Maybe it's just destined to happen. But why can't we figure this out? Why can't we? I know we can't live forever, but we can sure slow down some of the illnesses and some of the pain and maybe some of the suffering along the way. I don't want to eliminate football. I don't want to eliminate NASCAR racing, but because one of my favorite race car drivers was, he ran into the wall. He's no longer with us, but he was racing and he was living his life the way he wanted to. And he probably went out the exact way he wanted to. You look at Vikings. How did they want to go out? They wanted to go out in the battlefield. They wanted to do what they love. So again, folks, if we can figure out another way to make football a little safer, or maybe just make medicine a little bit better. And maybe sometimes, we don't have the things in our hands to be able to do it, but by talking about it, bringing awareness to it, maybe donating money, getting a foundation going. If you guys have an opportunity and you haven't done it, donate to St. Jude's Children's Hospital Research. One of the best things you can do. Investing in our kids is investing in our future. And I really proud. I really am, because of the advancements that we have made. And shout out to, again, UCSF and Boston. It's the two best places you should go if you have any heart problems in the United States. And I really want to see us do something where we can maybe one day, David, we can keep having shows like this, and maybe one day we can get big enough where we can start having donations and contributing to charities And I'm going to say it, F cancer, guys, F cancer. And there's so many things out there that we shouldn't have to worry about. Okay, like you're out there in the desert and you get bit by a rattlesnake. Okay, that's on you, right? You're out there, maybe you didn't have enough. There are rattlesnake, things that you can take too, and they got electronics now too that you can call and say, hey, I'm out here, and come get me real quick. But to wake up one day and say, I have a tumor, I have a brain tumor, and for us to again be able to put somebody on the moon, but we can't stop certain illnesses. And I think you nailed it. It's because of the manufacturers. It's because of pharmaceutical companies. It's because as long as there's that out there, they're going to continue to make money. And to make money off of dead people, I just can't get behind that. CTE is not going to go away. It's not. Football is not going to go away. Basketball is not going to go away because people love to watch. They like to be entertained. I just would like to see maybe, somehow, some way, maybe the players union get a little bit more behind this. We got to figure out a way. There's a chemical, there's some kind of chemical imbalance that happens. And I'm sure with math, we can figure out a cure. And what do you think, David?
That's it. I think there's lots of things we can do. Like supposedly there's unexplored areas in the rainforest with plants we don't know about. There could be a cure there. The pharmaceutical companies, I mean, do we really think that they're actually pouring all this into finding a cure? You make billions of dollars every year, off not curing something. Why would you cure it? Business wise, it doesn't make sense for them to have a cure out there. Tony, spitting facts here. I think big pharma didn't rely so heavily on the what symbol is that?
The money bag. The bag.
Man. People's health would not be so complicated. Well, and that's the truth. It's the truth, right? So you're looking at, can I get my medication or can I get food to eat? That's a problem, right?
So we were talking earlier, and we were talking about when do the most concussions happen, right? So the
Yes.
data is out there. It's not just on special teams. And you said it, concussions happen on running plays, and they're happening in high school. So do we eliminate football from high school and then the concussions stop? They're not going to stop. Yeah. And you can't take running out of football. It's not like I'm sure concussions are still happening in rugby, and maybe next week we can come back, or maybe tomorrow we can talk a little bit about this. David and me will be streaming on both channels tomorrow. The time will be adjusted. We have Jason Hurley coming in, folks, the 49ers cap. We will be asking as many questions about the salary cap and getting his thoughts and maybe some of his, I'm sure you've been seeing him everywhere. The guy is very popular at this time of year, but he is our good buddy, and we'll be bringing him on tomorrow to break down the cap and maybe get some thoughts about free agency and what we might be able to afford. We all want a shiny new toy. But David, we got to figure this out. Running is part of football, and kickoff is part of football. Football, right? It's not, ball. Let's go play ball. Like what kind of ball are you playing? So, folks, it's been a great show. We have like 22 people in here. Please like and subscribe to both channels. Today, we're just on Bryant's channel, this guy right here. Tomorrow, we'll be on both channels. And we will be back. We're going to try to keep the Saturday shows a little shorter, and we're going to try to keep them good vibes and good discussions. And we really appreciate everyone for coming. David, do you have any other thoughts that you'd like to get out on CTE or any thoughts? What else you got going on today? I think you got something maybe later that the team, the fans, not your only fans, but anybody who would like to join, what do you got going on today?
Well, during the evening, I'm going to be doing a mock draft, and this is going to happen every week until the draft, folks. So last Saturday I did best player available no matter what position, and this is per the the big board that I was using at that time. Tonight, I honestly think I'm gonna go biggest need best player. So it'll be like, all right, we're on our 4th overall pick. What's our 4th highest need? And no matter what position, we're going to be drafting someone, right? But yes, now if you notice on the back on concussions, you notice the different styles of helmets everyone uses. Like George Kittle's has just a slightly different shape to it, and it kind of has a cutout for like a bumper almost, right? And then you look at like Nick Bosa's has a couple different cutouts. You think they're for air, they're not. The helmet flexes. That cutout provides an area for the helmet to flex. That's not the person's head. So the NFL, they are trying different styles of helmets to see what'll work. They're still experimenting with the new technology. And we'll see where it goes. Hopefully they can find a helmet that's so good that no one gets a concussion. That's the ideal place to be, right?
So I just had a thought, right? Motorcycle helmets, right? After they're dropped, supposedly, and I don't want to say that like, after they're dropped, they're junk. But I was told by a motorcyclist, if you drop your helmet, you should replace it. There's a good chance the inside of it's damaged. Now, I don't know how true that is. Maybe you should do some examine your helmet, right? But that brings my point to, in my thoughts, when players run into each other with their helmets, at that point, should they go and change their helmets? When they throw their helmets on the sideline because they're mad, right? Should they go and have to change their helmet? So, folks, thank you so much for coming. Please, hashtag CTE, post it on social medias. Let's get some awareness out there. Every day we need to kind of do something different, right? Awareness for, self-esteem, awareness for self-pride, be kind, the golden rule. Let's get out there. Let's do good things and let's have good vibes. Hashtag the moon landing really happened. Hashtag is water wet, folks. We can go on and on. We'll be back. All right. Thank you so much for coming. And
it's the Earth flat.
Is the Earth flat, right? Folks, we will go in and in and in, and we will stay on it. But we want you guys to remember, stay faithful, enjoy the team, enjoy your family, and you know what? Go have some fun. Maybe learn something. Like Miss Frizzle would say, get messy, make mistakes, right? And Darkwing Duck, let's get dangerous. Folks, we're going to get out of here, and we'll see you next time.